have like these other connections in my life, these people in my life that can help me get through it. And I guess kind of building off that, bringing it back to the film, is this like if Bernard, or whatever his name is, actually was more honest about that, or more open about it, and able to have that space where he could talk about what was going on, then I think that his end might not have been the same.
How would you guys like to help us get mental health resources into schools, conventions, and other events? Well, now you can. Simply go to patreon.com/victims and villains for as little as $1 a month. You guys can help us get mental health resources into current and upcoming generations, educate and break down stigma surrounding mental health, suicide, and depression. And you get exclusive content that you can't get anywhere else. And you guys can tell us which Nicolas Cage movie you want us to cover, and we'll do it. All it takes to get started is to go to patreon.com/victims and villains, or simply click the link in the episode description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this episode. Pick your tier and get started today. Yes, it's that simple. So quickly select the tier that you want and help us get hope into the hands of the depressed and the suicidal today.
Yeah, and just to, I mean, both of you probably just defined it and said it perfectly, but for those lucky ones like myself who don't haven't experienced any of those symptoms or anything like that, I think it's also important to not connect or to automatically assume that health, mental health issues are just experiencing anxiety and depression. I think it's important for us to understand that these terms, we shouldn't see them or view them or interpret them as anything negative or as anything weird or odd, because it's always looked upon as, oh, you're a weirdo, or you're always, yeah, you're always looked upon as another or weird, which makes all these people further likely to open up and talk about this. And it's okay to acknowledge if you're experiencing anything like that, and to talk to people and vent and just get it all out. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of work to do there. And yeah, it's certainly really, really tough. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm home with my family, and I'm not alone, and I'm not isolated or anything like that. So in that sense, I'm very much lucky to be surrounded by people. But I am aware that there's people out there who are not. And every now and then I do try to post on social media. You know, my DMs are always open. If anybody wants to talk, just chit chat or anything, I'm always open for that. But yeah, no, I think it's certainly something worth discussing.
I think the talent in this film and the kind of ways that people basically have this like jealousy or misunderstanding or like hatred for Agatha and Audrey is kind of the way that, you know, we treat people with mental illness. We look down upon them because they're different. We look down upon them because they may be isolating themselves, or they may just be, you know, not really seeing the world through the same way that, you know, we do. And our society is becoming more and more like increasingly like opinionated. And if you don't share my views, then you're wrong. And Gary Oldman has a great like line. He's like, says something along the lines of, you know, I might not necessarily share your opinion. That's okay. Like, it doesn't necessarily neglect the fact that you as a person have value the same way that me as a person has value. And I think that sometimes we get so wrapped up in what people are going to think if we admit and we confront that we have depression, or that we suffer from this desire to not want to live, or that we're struggling in the department of self-harm or addiction, that we're going to be looked at differently. And being vulnerable, Mark, I was right there with you, and I shared this in our staff meeting last month, that I didn't realize like how quarantine hit me until like a couple months into it. Like I was like, why do I not feel like myself? Like why do I not have a drive to do anything?
Yeah.
And I'd like turned to my wife and I was like, I think I just like got over this like weird depression. And I remember I'd only told a few people about that. So like, you guys look to me as kind of like the guy that is running the show, so to say, when it comes to victims and villains. I'm the kind of guy that deals with the studios and the publicists and the guests and all that stuff with editing. And I'm like, hey, I got this movie, and so it was nerve-wracking to me coming and just being vulnerable with you guys during that meeting, saying, I had depression. Like, this is the reason why all of these things like didn't get done, was because like I had depression. And it's freeing to really, not be complacent and really be vulnerable and acknowledge it. But it takes a lot of courage to get there. But once you get there, it's so rewarding.
I think that just in our American culture in general, and this might be the same for other cultures, but we'll definitely have that kind of like asterisk about our emotions, our feelings. We're not really supposed to put those out there, because we definitely have that like John Henryism, like everyone should pick up themselves up by their bootstraps, and you should be on 100% all the time and be a-okay all the time. And I think that's just very problematic, because it's not very real, and very much like even with the virus, the coronavirus, you see that there are some people that see like getting sick in this way, or having mental health issues, is a sign of weakness or failure. And it's not. It's just like any other disease, any other physical ailment. Like it's in a lot of cases cannot be helped. But what you can do is actually seek help, and be open and try to get the help you need. So
no, I couldn't agree more. And I just want to encourage anyone listening to this right now that if you kind of fall in that, like, we have resources that are available for you in the descriptions right now. And our mental healthcare system is another story that could just be a podcast unto its own. But the resources in the descriptions right now are a perfect place to get started, because whether you are a horror movie lover, a comic nerd, a video game nerd, whatever, you like history, cooking, you have value and you have worth. And the real tragedy is going to be losing you if you don't reach out. So I just want to reaffirm that to anyone listening to this right now. Don't be complacent. Please reach out, because every day that you are here, the world is a better place because you're in it.
Well, I mean, anything else about the movie, though? Yeah, perfectly said. Anything else about the movie, though?
So I'm going to spin this back. I want to come back to this ending that Rosa mentioned earlier, which is part 4, which is spring. And basically this is the depiction, this turning point where so you have these parents, Bridget and Colm, who basically like lose their son very early in it, and she gets sick right after Audrey casts a spell and she's pregnant. And basically something goes wrong with the pregnancy in the end. We don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to get your guys' interpretations, like, because I have so many theories about this ending. Rosa, being our guest, how would you read this ending?
Oh my. I'm still thinking about it. It's certainly something. I did have the idea that she did get pregnant the moment the spell was cast. So yeah, I'm assuming it was either some form of monster or something on those realms, but I'm not sure because they don't even show it. I was waiting for them to show it, but they didn't. Which is good, I guess, because now I'm challenged to all these theories. But yeah, no, I think it's somewhere in the realms of either a creature or I don't know, something. I'm still trying to think about it as I just watched the film recently, like a few hours ago, so I'm still marinating on that ending.
Yeah, it was definitely a striking ending. I guess like just to describe it again, this is the spoiler section, and I guess Bridget gives birth to the child, and you don't see what it is, and then Colum is freaking out over it because he sees it, and then once Bridget sees it, she just gives out this like blood curdling scream that was, when I first heard it, like kind of got me in like my spinal cord. Like it was one of those screams that you just felt, not heard, you felt it. And yeah, and it just like goes to the shot of like a distant shot, like a wide frame shot of the house, and then it closes, and so it just left like the last thing you hear and see is like utter like fear. And it honestly reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie 2013 movie Enemy, the Jake Gyllenhaal film that was directed by, I think it's Denny Villeneuve. I don't know how to say his last name. Yeah. But that just the ending of that movie was like kind of on the same kind of vein, just like supposed to be shocking, and it definitely it stuck with me. But I guess right before we get to the birthing scene, Bridget is washing dishes, and you see a bird hit the kitchen window, and then she goes outside and picks it up, and it's obviously dead, and she kind of holds it like in her hand, like right around, I guess, her womb, and it's like holding this dead bird. It's a very like beautiful shot. It's like looking down on this dead bird in her hands, and I felt like that was just kind of like foreshadowing, like of what was going to come out of her womb is going to be death or related, something dark, something that sticks around. So that stuck with me as well.
So wow, I did not even think about that. That is such a brilliant observation. I think for me, it is kind of so my theory about this movie is that the covenant that's at the center of this, at one point or another, maybe the woman that, Audrey talks to throughout the course of this movie, kind of in like some of the after the ritual scene, and maybe like the first like quarter of the movie, and then when the one that we see go and gets Agatha might be the grandmother. So this is my theory, is that Agatha was supposed to be the new leader of the Covenant, and when she reached of age, they were like, she doesn't got what it takes, so we're going to give her 18 years of prosperity, and her daughter will take the place of the grandmother. So my theory is that the baby that Calm and Bridget give birth to at the very end is going to be Audrey's successor. Possibly, maybe even because the whole thing, but that's one of the theories I have. But my other theory is that the baby that they gave birth to was Liam, because